What if I told you that Stickles aren't just for your glitter accents? You can actually use them to create a stained glass effect. Hi guys, I'm Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and today on the Ranger YouTube channel, I'll be creating a bright spring thank you card using Stickles and acetate to create a fun stained glass window. So for this project, we're going to be using a few things from Ranger. I've got my Archival ink in jet black. I've got some different colors of Stickles. I've got these sketched citrus from Simon Hurley and Ranger. I love a bunch of the things from Simon Hurley, just saying. And then I'm going to be using the Dina Wakley Media Transparencies because we're going to need some acetate to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and cut down some of this. And we're going to go ahead and get started creating our fun stained glass. So I'm going to be using my Stamp Wheel 2.0 mostly because I just need a stamp positioner. I'm one that I do not trust my stamping. You can definitely use a stamp block if you feel confident, and I would say go for it. I don't feel confident. So I'm going to use my, I'm going to go ahead and pull this out, and we're going to use that stamp over the top of my acetate here. And yeah, like I said, I'm using my stamp platform because I'm afraid that I'm going to kind of, sort of, yeah. Let's see, which way do I want to go? This is so pretty. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put that down in the middle and take the plastic backing off. I don't normally take the backing off because I like to stamp with these straight on with the plastic, but I need this to stick to my stamp wheel cover so that I can stamp it multiple times. I want to make sure I get a good impression on there. And I'm one that I know that a lot of times when I'm stamping something, it doesn't always do well the very first time down. So I want to make sure that I'm able to stamp it a second time. Now, if you mess up, this is acetate. You can clean it with alcohol and you're going to be fine, but I don't want to have to do that. So let's go ahead. This is still stuck down. It still has our transparency down that you can't see. And I'll go ahead and add my Ranger Archival ink down. Mostly in the center because I know that's where my acetate is. I'm also trying something. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I know that it's going to be difficult for me to get that acetate off of here. So I'm putting a piece of paper, basically just a piece of a Post-it note, over the top, underneath it to try to help me get that off of there a little bit easier without putting my fingers in the stamped image. Don't really want to smudge it, you know? So let's go ahead and stamp that down. And I don't think it really matters which direction I go. I just need to remember which way we go. I'm using a chalkboard eraser just to press that down well. And I'm going to say that that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and pull up our acetate, and then I'm going to set it to the side. Well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my heat gun and try to heat that up a little bit and let that dry some because we can't do anything else until the ink is dry. Okay, so now what we're going to do, this is going to be so fun. We're going to be using Stickles to color it in. I know you're thinking, I've never done that before. Well, you know what? You absolutely can. This is not just for adding accents. This is actually for you to be able to use directly on. Now, because we let that dry, we shouldn't have a problem with it basically messing up. I'm gonna do one over here on the edge. We're gonna start at the edge because you never know. And I'm just going to add a little bit of color right there into that little leaf. And then when you turn it over, we've got, yeah, I think that's going to be lovely. It does not look like it's having any effect, any kind of reaction to the archival ink that we use, and that is perfect. If you do find you're having something like that, you may want to think about doing heat embossing. You can do that on most acetates. I would say you double check and make sure that it can handle the heat first, but I'm going to go ahead and fill this all in. We're going to do a lot of coloring on this, just filling everything in with these colors of Stickles. And of course, I want to see what it looks like on the other side first. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and take a look. So that, I think, that looks wonderful, and it's all nice and pretty and glittery. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in all the rest of this. All of my leaves, I'm going to be using, this one is just green. So I'm going to be using green for that. And I haven't 100% decided on the color for my oranges or lemons or peaches, whatever the fruit is that you want. I'm kind of leaning towards using orange slice. I've also got some, I don't know what color this one is, because it's old and it's been in my stash for a bit. But that one kind of looks like a little bit of a, almost like a pink grapefruit. I've also got some glam pink, some reds. We've got a bunch of different colors. I'm kind of leaning towards these two. So I'm probably just going to go with orange slice, and we're going to say that they're oranges. But you know what? These stamps work well for basically any, because they are a sketchy design. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in all of those, and then we'll have to set this to the side to dry. And I will be setting it overnight to make sure that the Stickles has plenty of time to dry. And then we can go on and start putting the card together. So for all of these little blossoms, I'm going to go with a white. This one is diamond, and it's kind of one of my favorite colors of Stickles. So I'm going to go ahead and use that for all of the little blossoms and put a little yellow dot in the center of them and fill those in. So my Stickles are all dry, and now we're going to start putting together the rest of the card. And one of the nice things about having to wait, I don't like to wait, but one of the nice things about having to wait is it gives you a chance to kind of have different ideas come into your head as to what you want to do with what you just finished up that may be different, or the same, may be different than what you had in mind to begin with. So I'm going to be using a few more things from Ranger and Simon Hurley, starting off with the handwritten stamp. I know this is not full size. I actually received this at Creativation when Simon did a class, and he had cut these in half because I didn't have enough. But that actually makes it perfect for what I'm wanting. So I've got it covering half of my card panel here. And we're going to cut this out using a die from Spellbinders. I'm going to be using the Essentials Arches because I want to make this into a stained glass window. The only issue is that sometimes it doesn't cut all the way through, and that's fine as well. So let's go ahead and get that positioned where I want it on the front of my card. I'll use a little bit more of my Best Ever Craft tape to hold it in place. If you have mint tape or another low-tack tape, that is perfectly fine. Use what you have. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine to cut out the window out of both the card panel that's over the front and the card base. I may have to run it through a couple of times, and I still may need to use my craft knife to finish off the cut, but that is totally fine. So it did cut most of the way through. A little bit is left. I'm going to go ahead and run it through again. And you can do that by just lining your die back up in those slots. You've got the little blade that's going to fit there. And make sure you do not shift. And then we'll just run it through again. I have accidentally shifted before, and that just means that the cuts are not the way that I want it. If you make sure that it does not shift, then you should be able to just go right back over what you just did and finish cutting that the rest of the way through. So let's take a look and see how that one did. Looks like it did not shift, which is fabulous, and it cut through the rest of the way. So now I have another arch I can use on another project. So I'm going to go ahead and score this into a card base. That way we're going to have our window, and we can start assembling the rest. Okay, now comes the fun part. I am going to say I'm going to do this probably a little different than what I initially had thought. Initially, I was thinking I can just put this on there, but there is a texture back here that I think if you really messed with it, it may flake off. It may stick to something else. I don't know. I did do a sample earlier, and when I put adhesive on the back of the glitter and put it down onto a piece of cardstock, my cardstock warped, probably because of the humidity where I am in Florida, but when I tried to straighten it, it popped all of the glitter off. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sandwich my glitter, my Stickles, in between two sheets. So we've got our sheet of of acetate where we did our window, where we did all of our stained glass, and then I'm going to put another sheet on the back of it. It is going to be double thick, but it is also going to make it sturdier. I think it's going to make it so that that pretty design does not go anywhere. And to adhere everything together, I'm going to be using some double stick tape. The reason for that is this is plastic. It does not like glue, so I'm just going to use this. So here is the front of our card. That's our window, and I'm going to line it with some adhesive, and it's going to be on the front because I've got this panel that's going to go on the front of that as well. Okay, I'm going to burnish all of that down, and then I'll remove all of the release paper before putting my panel down. So I'm going to go ahead and put the clear piece down first, and then we'll need to do the same thing again to adhere our glitter piece down. We've got to go ahead and put down another layer of adhesive and then put our pretty window down. Okay. So this last one, I do need to make sure I am being careful to get everything to the edge because I want to make sure that it lines up as perfect as I can get. And I think that worked. Look at that. Now the back of it doesn't look as good, but it still looks fabulous and it is nice and see-through. I do like that. Oh, this is so cool. I love the way that when I try something that I haven't done in a bit, I am surprised of how awesome it turns out. And this is absolutely lovely. And I don't have to worry about the way that that's going to feel or flaking off or anything. I am going to trim it a little bit because I can see a little bit of the edge there. But other than that, this is pretty much perfect. Now to finish up the card, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this piece to be as a mini card inside. So I need to create a little hinge real quick. And to create the hinge, we're going to use our bone folder and scoring board again. And I'm just going to score that about at the 1/2 inch mark. And then I changed my mind. I'm going to use this piece. This is going to match the front and give a little bit of texture right behind there. I think that's going to look fabulous. So I've already got my hinge basically ready to go. I've got double-sided adhesive on both sides, and we'll go ahead and put that onto one side here. Okay, so we need to have the fold facing the front of the card because it's going to be opening up this way. So we're just going to put that in place right on that line there. Actually, it doesn't matter if it's in the card or not yet. I just need this to be lined up right with that edge. Okay. So now what's going to happen is when we place it in place, we'll be able to open the card up this way and you'll have plenty of space there for your personal message. Okay, let's go ahead and put this the rest of the way in place. Just take off the release paper. And this time I am going to line it up inside my window here. Line that up right up there and then close the door. And now it should put everything in place. So when you open it up, we've got our second piece inside. Perfect. I did go ahead and stamp and cut out some more of the oranges that were in that Simon Hurley set. So I'm going to go ahead and add them down in a few places and add my sentiment. So that finishes up our stained glass Stickles stained glass card. I think this turned out Absolutely fabulous. I am so proud of this card, and I hope that this inspires you to get out some of your products, new and old. We've all got Stickles in our stash. Come on, guys. I hope it inspires you to get out some of the stuff that's in your stash and give this kind of technique a try. What will you make using the stained glass Stickles technique? I can't wait to see. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you like the content, and be sure to tag me, Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and Ranger Inc. in your posts when you make something similar to this. I can't wait to see what you create. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys. That is very pretty.